So successful first little power up and drive there, which is great. I can't really take it out and do a proper little drive until I need to clean up. There's my front motor emulators, and I haven't plugged the power steering in yet, and just a few odds and sods like that. Yeah, then I can test it a bit better. Just made this mounting plate for these are the power steering emulators, and this is the power steering controller. So I'm using that electric power steering pump, which is CAN bus controlled, which is what this does basically. When this powers up, it just sends the CAN bus message to power it on. Doesn't do a lot. So I need to test that now. The other thing, so the power for the power steering pump, these are the power supply plugs for the Tesla power steering. It's got two for redundancy, and I'm powering this one from one of these. So hopefully the VC front doesn't get upset about just drawing power from one. And is it going to draw too much power? I don't know. There's only one way to find out though. Flash it up and see if it works. Also, one thing I don't know is the Tesla unit has a sensor on the bottom of the steering column, in the steering rack, for positional. I don't have that, and I'm just sending the same wheels facing forward signal on these, but I do have the steering column module, which obviously gets the position, so I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we can only just power it up and see what happens, so let's do that. Okay, so put on brake. Oh, power steering's working. So I'm just interested if it's going to get upset if I put load on the steering here. Doesn't seem to be. So that's good. I feel like we need a bit better test than that though, don't we? I think we need to just drive it out the garage and see what it does. I need to get my reverse camera and parking sensors hooked up. Okay, so we're just going over the hoist here. It's a good accelerator control test. It's lovely actually. Driving out the garage. This is cool. I need to fix up the steering clearance. Check the brakes work, yep. Wow, this is cool. We're doing a bit of a drive. Oh, got to fix up the clearance on the steering wheel here. Geez, the accelerator control is really nice. I've got it on chill mode, which might be four-wheel drive mode. Pretty cool. You can hear the motor. Yeah, it's just, the accelerator control is lovely. Well, no problems with the power steering. Main thing is I've got to clearance the steering wheel controls a bit better. It's a pretty successful test, I'm going to say. Press the button. Charge flat opens. Put it in. It's blue, flashes green, and I've got 5 minutes to charge. So I need to re-engineer that a bit better. My 3D printed steering wheel controls were fouling on the Tesla stalks, so I had to do a redesign to give me a bit more clearance in this area. Time to look at reversing camera mounting. Like a lot of these things, this is going to be dictated by how long this wire is. Initially I was thinking of putting it up in the middle of the door up here, maybe incorporating in the number plate light, but the wiring isn't long enough. So I'm going to have to go lower, and the middle of the door is actually there. This framing isn't centre, so the middle of the door is actually there. But I can't quite get it in the middle. It's going to have to come in here somewhere. So the key requirement I'm thinking is I want to be able to use it to back the trailer up. Do I want it straight back or do I want it at an angle? That'll help me aim it. Hang on. Oh, it's upside down. That's why. Getting confused there. Yeah, so if it's pointing straight back, I can't quite see the toe hitch. But if I go down slightly, just slightly down is all I need. God, there's some filler in here. Just drill a hole in the back of the door. Rubber grommet. Oh, it's nice and tight. Let's have a look, see what it looks like. Oh yeah. Oh, you can see the edges of the grommet too, which is not ideal. Alright, so I've just scalloped the edges of the grommet so I don't get the grommet in the camera picture. Now it's a lot better. There's no little funny black marks on the edges, so yeah, that's a really good view now. So I pretty much got all the rear interior lined now. Don't know if I'm 100% sold on having this as interior thing. I guess it's okay. It's a bit shiny. Anyway, it's fine for the moment. I can change it if it annoys me with some carpet. I mean, it was cheap and I had it, so anyway. The parcel shelf speakers didn't quite have enough roof cavity, so I've made a 3D printed spacer. I mean, my trimming isn't the best job, but it's a Land Rover. It can't be too fancy. Just modifying the front drive unit inverter harness. Just looking at the H-fill, so there's a high voltage interlock circuit in the low voltage wiring, which I've emulated here with some resistors that I obviously measured in the car. So I've worked out you need about a 60 ohm resistor. So I'm just double checking that on the front motor or the front motor inverter. How it works, I've just worked out. So there's interlock pins on the high voltage cable here. You can see the two pins in the middle there. And basically the high voltage cable, when you plug it in, it just bridges those pins. That's all it does. So one of these pins is connected to one of the pins here, and the other one is connected to the other pin through a 60 ohm resistor. Yeah, it's 60 ohm basically. And to there, and yeah, it's basically a dead straight connection to there. As far as my harness goes, it's pretty easy. I just have to connect brown and yellow. So basically all I have to do here is connect these two together with a 60 ohm resistor. So that's really easy. Obviously there's no such thing as a 60 ohm resistor. So I've used a 10 and a 47. So a bit under 60, but that's fine. It's close enough. So it's important to remember that, because if that isn't plugged in with that resistor, regardless of the emulation, it'll work without that, but it won't work without that H-fill interlock, because that's a safety thing. Cut one wire longer than the other so that then it's not folded at the resistors, so I can sort of tape that into the harness. High voltage battery, and it's got the H-fill in and out. So high voltage battery is not the battery, it's the high voltage controller, which is the black box that sits at the top of the penthouse there. So basically this circuit has to be complete, has to be connected, but not just complete, it has to have a certain resistance range on it. So you can see it goes through all the high voltage components, the rear inverter, the high voltage compressor, the air conditioner compressor, the PTC heater, and if it's got it, the front drive inverter. And my system did have the front drive inverter. Interesting, I'm just looking at it here. It's actually got two. So if it doesn't have the front inverter, it goes through, it still completes the circuit through, it bypasses the drive inverter and goes to the PTC heater. If this controller's got the firmware for the dual motor, it will go, okay, well the H-fill needs to be this resistance. And if the firmware for this says, oh, it's not the dual motor, it's just the rear motor, the H-fill resistance should be different. I think that's how they do it. So I'm just in service mode in Eevee here. You can see here, H-fill in expected, 60 ohm. H-fill out, well, it's actually voltage is expected, so it puts a voltage through here, and the resistors would change the voltage. So you can see the H-fill's fine here, it's expecting 1.2 and it's getting 1.2, so it just has to be in a range. It's pretty cool, eh? It shows you all the things it goes through. So this is just a rear-wheel drive single motor unit. Has a 60 ohm resistor. That's a great diagram of how the H-fill works, isn't it? I should have just shown you that at the start rather than boring with all the wiring diagrams. Okay, plugged into the point down there, coming up through my firewall grommet there, and into the main control center where I've got all my emulators and power steering control. Not very elegant having a controller for every single little thing. I could combine that into one controller with multiple CAN buses, but that's fine for the moment.
Big green electric driving machine. Hey Dig, isn't this quieter and less smelly?
The tyres
Yeah.
make that noise. Horn. Good test. Oh.
Do that again?
Oh, that's actually a decent horn. It's much better than the old Land Rover horn.
Watch out, kangaroos. Here we come.
Oh, my seat's getting warm.
Oh,
It's very light. It's on chill mode, and I'm hardly using any accelerator.
here we go, Dig.
By a hill. Let's see if the park brake. This is a good park brake test. So this is really steep. Let's just brake. This is the ultimate test. Is it going to hold? Oh, it's holding. Well, it's better than my other park brake. It wouldn't hold on this hill. That's actually really steep.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's good low gear. Imagine how much revs you'd have to give the Subaru.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it, Dig?
Would be good to get regen working.